Hi, welcome to another video. My name is Monsi if you are new here. Today I'm going to be doing another installment in my genre TBR series, which is where I pick a genre that I read and I tell you all the books within the genre that are on my radar that I would like to read sooner rather than later. I'm not giving myself any deadline with these TBRs. I just want to read them within the next year or so. And I'm doing them to give you ideas of books that you maybe haven't heard of and to get an idea of which books you think I should put at the top of my list. Last month I did my nonfiction TBR, so I'll link that video down below if you want to go watch it. And already since making that video, I have read one of the books on that list just because it was so top of mind for me. And I think the very same thing is going to happen with this one. Today I'm doing my romance TBR. I think it's the perfect time of year to do this type of video. I'm going to talk about 10 books that I really want to read, and I do think that I'm going to read the majority of them this summer. Probably not all of them, but a good chunk of them, because I have just been in the mood to read romance lately, which makes sense because it's summertime and it is just the perfect time to read some good old love stories. So let's just get right into it. The first book on my radar is a book that I feel like is on everyone's radar, and that is Funny Story by Emily Henry. I just read Happy Place, fell in love with that love story, and have been itching for another Emily Henry book, and I'm so glad that I have one that I haven't read yet. I've watched a lot of people review Funny Story online, and a lot of people say that this is most similar in style to Happy Place, so that's got me even more excited about reading it, given that Happy Place is one of my new favorite books ever. To describe the premise of Funny Story, I'm gonna have to use hand gestures. I just feel like there's no other way to do it. So we have Daphne and we have Miles, and those are the two main characters that we're following. They are both in their own separate relationships, and the two people that they're partnered with are actually childhood best friends. These childhood best friends have decided that they actually have always been in love with each other, so they then leave Daphne and Miles to get together with one another. And somehow that leaves Daphne and Miles in a position where they need to room together. So there's a little bit of forced proximity. I think that there is some fake dating in this one as well. And typically I don't like fake dating, but there was also fake dating in Happy Place, and I thought Emily Henry did a really good job with it and made it very sensible for the two people to be fake dating, and so I'm hoping that that carries over to Funny Story. I already have this book on hold through the library, and it's supposed to become available to me in the next 3 weeks, and the second I have access to it, I know that I'm going to read it. So this is one that I can confidently say I will finish this summer. I'm gonna follow that up with 2 books by the same author that have been really hyped lately, and they are the second and third books in the Part of Your World series by Abby Jimenez. I just finished Part of Your World 2 days ago and loved it. It was so good. I can't wait to talk about it in my June wrap up, but I am itching to read the second and third installments in this series. I think that the second book is gonna follow Bree, who is the female main character in Part of Your World. It's her best friend. I don't actually know the plot of it because I just kind of want to go into it blind, but I am really excited to hear Bree's love story unfold. And then the third book, I actually don't know those characters, and I don't know how they tie in with the characters in the previous 2 books, but again, I don't want to spoil it for myself, so I'm just gonna go into it without reading the reviews ahead of time. But I really love Abby's storytelling, so I am very excited about these. Already have them requested through the library and feel pretty certain that I will pick them up this summer. Moving on to some older romances, we have Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. I've only read one other book by Christina Lauren. I think it was called True Love Experiment, and I really liked it. I've heard even more rave reviews about Love in Other Words, so I am pretty pumped about that. This one I think is like a second chance romance. It's about 2 characters who fell in love with each other at a young age in high school, and then are reunited in their adult years, but we don't know what happened between them when they were teenagers, and so there's a little bit of a then and now timeline jump to see what happened when they were in high school and kind of where they stand with each other now. I really like second chance romance. I know that a lot of people don't, but I like seeing people do a little bit of development on their own and then come back together. So this one has definitely piqued my interest. After that, we have a YA romance, and that is Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. In this one, we are following 17-year-old Liz. She is a big daydreamer, a big hopeless romantic, and wow, I can so relate to that. I was the biggest daydreamer in my teens. I could spend hours just coming up with these different visions of all my crushes coming to me in these different scenarios, and so I feel like this is gonna be a really nostalgic type of read for me. Anyway, Liz is vying for the affection of her childhood crush, and in order to accomplish this goal, she has to team up with her arch nemesis and her neighbor. So I think this is gonna be a little bit of an enemies to lovers type of situation, which I haven't read in a while, and I think that it will be just a jolly good time. Then I would like to read You Again by Kate Goldbeck. First off, I just want to say that I love this cover. Like, I adore this cover. This is described as a reimagining of When Harry Met Sally, which, if I am being totally honest, I actually have not watched, but I'll make a deal with you. If I love this book, I will watch the movie. From what I understand, it's about two people who initially don't jive with one another and they really don't like each other, and then they meet years later and their circumstances have changed, and so they develop this friendship that ultimately leads into more than a friendship. It just sounds really fun, and I've heard great things, so I'm adding it to the list. Next, we have One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. This is the same author of Red, White, and Royal Blue, which I really loved. This book is described as a sapphic romance with some magical realism to it. We're following our main character, August. As a side note, I think that it would be really fun for me to read this in August. Anyway, August moves to the Big Apple, and she develops this crush on a girl that she encounters daily on her commute to work. And then I don't fully understand what happens, but there's supposed to be some kind of time traveling component to the story. Like, I think that this girl is displaced from time, but I don't entirely know what that means. I don't know if she is going back and forth in time or if she's stuck in present day and is trying to get back to her time period. I don't really understand that part, but I am intrigued by it. The next book that I have on my list veers away from the rom-com style of romance, and that is Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. So like I said, I think that this is a bit more of an emotional read. So this is about a divorced couple who are still co-parenting, and they run a business together. So their lives are very much still intertwined despite the fact that they've decided to end their relationship. And I think we see maybe how they come together again. This one has really sparked my interest because I have never read anything like this. I've never read about a divorced couple before, and I have heard nothing but good things, so I'm really excited to dive into this new to me type of love story. Then I have Open Water by Caleb Nelson. This is another more emotional type of story. It's a really short book running at about 145 pages, so I feel like I could finish this in one sitting, which is always appealing to me. In this book, we follow two British Black characters. They are both artists in their own right, and they seem to be perfectly suited together. But they also have these issues in their personal lives that they have to contend with that seem to tear them apart. One review that I read states that Open Water explores everything from identity to what it is to be young and Black in London, to the nature of masculinity, to the parameters of privilege. So a lot more going on than like a surface level romance. I am really looking forward to this one. And the last book on my agenda is one that I physically own, and that is Funny You Should Ask by Elissa Sussman. This book is about a reporter who gets the opportunity to interview the new James Bond actor. After their interview, they embark on this whirlwind weekend together, and then they don't communicate for like 10 years, I think. So almost a decade later, she is asked to interview him once again, and so they're reunited, and we just kind of go from there. I think this also follows a then and now plot structure, but I'm not entirely sure, so don't quote me on that. And flipping through it, I do see that it has some mixed media, so some blog posts, some news articles, and I always really love that in a book. It just kind of breaks up the narrative in a fun way. So there you have it. Funny you should ask. And those are the 10 books on my radar in the romance genre. I am really itching to read all of them, if I'm being totally honest. And like I said at the start of the video, I do think I'm gonna read most of these this summer. I'm just not holding myself to that. Like, I'm gonna do it not because I feel obligated to, but because I want to, which is great. We should all do things that we want to do. Please let me know down below if you've read any of these and what your thoughts were, because if you have loved any of these, I will 100% try to bump it up on my priority list and read them sooner. I am just so excited to read this summer. It's not even funny. I have been in such a reading mood and it's such a delight. Like, it just really, really fills my cup. I think that's it for today's video. I hope you are all doing well and I will see you in the next one.